Some people are starting to treat fashion like it's a disposable water bottle. Oh, I'm done. I had a good night out. I'm gonna throw it away now. It looks bad. It really affects the environment in every way possible that you could imagine.
Hey everyone, I'm Sophia Bush. I am an actress and an activist and a podcast host, and I thrive off of in-depth conversation with trusted sources. This is Need to Know, a series meant to answer your most pressing questions through conversations with reliable sources. Today, we are going to be talking about fashion, shopping, and its environmental impact. Americans created more than 16 million tons of textile waste in 2017, and of that total, 11 million tons wound up in landfills rather than being reused or recycled. Today we are speaking with writer and expert in the environmental impact of the fashion industry, Alden Wicker. How much of an environmental impact does the fashion industry have?
I mean, it's a huge one. It's responsible for somewhere between 5 to 8% of global carbon emissions. That's less than the food industry and less than construction, but it's still incredibly significant. It also is estimated to be responsible for 4% of global waste, which is, more than the electronics industry. Fashion also has a huge effect on the climate as well. Most of our fashion is made in countries that are still running almost completely on coal. If the electricity goes down, a diesel generator kicks in. So many emissions come from these factories. There's the chemistry of fashion, right? So what the dyes, the finishes that go into it, those have an impact on the workers. They have an impact on the communities around the factories, right? The waterways, the environment, and also they can have an impact on you.
We have to actively fight against nefarious sources and dangerous conditions for the workers, especially on those ends. There are frontline workers in both industries, the garment workers making fashion, the ag workers who are actually in these, fields around America, quite literally feeding all of us, who we as consumers are often very detached from. And I'm wondering how you think we can create better connections to those people.
I think there's a little bit of this energy right now that's sort of like my right to go on a shopping spree when I'm having a bad day supersedes the right of a garment worker to have a safe and fairly paid job making our fashion. And I wish that wasn't the case. Honestly, I was just really disappointed from a fashion perspective that we couldn't put through a federal minimum wage of $15 because that will have ripple effects. Because when people have their needs taken care of, then they can extend their circle of concern outwards to care about garment workers too, who are at the other end of the supply chain.
There are these enormous industries that do a lot of what they do in the dark. And I'm curious how you think we can demand that the fashion industry harms the environment less.
So due diligence legislation is very exciting. So right now we have a system where if a fashion brand, like say Fashion Nova, is sourcing from a sweatshop in LA, once that comes out, Fashion Nova can say, we didn't know. They decided not to know, right? Because they were getting cheap prices. So under due diligence legislation, it would make companies responsible for what happens in their supply chains.
Wow.
It would be up to them to figure out if the factory is paying fair wages, if the factory is safe, if it's polluting or not, and make sure that doesn't happen. And if it happens, then they have to clean up the mess. So it would be like, no, you can't just pay as low as you can and then pretend that you didn't know this would happen. Like, this is your responsibility. So that's one thing that I think is really exciting that's coming out.
There's a real disconnect between the industry and how it produces and the average person's either needs or experiences. So I guess the question is fast fashion the root of all the evil in the fashion industry?
Fast fashion is junk food. It's toxic. It falls apart quickly, or it just looks bad after not very many wears. I mean, I don't think that that's offering dignity to people who have a low income either. So no, it's not the root of all evil, but it does amplify it.
I think it's really important for us to understand that our consumption habits are really connected to outcomes on the other end. In trying to be more conscientious, do you think there's a responsible way to follow trends and appreciate fashion?
Yeah, absolutely. You can rent fashion, right? And it's pretty affordable way to try out trends as well instead of buying the whole thing. And then also secondhand fashion, super fun, super easy to access. There's a lot of liquidated inventory that for whatever reason didn't sell in that store over there, but you could buy it over here now. Everybody deserves to feel good in their clothing, but that doesn't necessarily mean the answer is to, go on fashion hauls. In the end, it just comes down to knowing what you love and buying less, but buying better. Just buying things that you will keep for a long time, that you'll wear a lot. Like right now, we're not really doing a lot of shopping in stores. And so it's even more important to understand all of these things so that you don't buy something and then ship it back for returns, because returns are so unsustainable. There's the carbon emissions, there's the packaging, there's all this stuff that goes into shipping. So really getting familiar with what you like, what looks good on you, and being just really thoughtful about that. I want to go back to the junk food analogy.
Yes.
Fast fashion is junk food. Like, you buy all this stuff and it comes and you're like, this doesn't make me feel really good. I don't know why I did this.
When you make special purchases, where do you turn? What brands do you really think are getting it right?
Okay, well, let me just choose my favorite child. Hold on. But I will say that when I do go shopping, there's this one designer, Rupa Pemaraju. She makes these beautiful real silk handprint gowns and dresses. She's absolutely amazing. I really like what Stella McCartney's doing. And then Patagonia is such a leader. I've been spending a lot of time outdoors this past year. They also have a whole secondhand and repair shop. Also Mara Hoffman, she does extended sizing. Her products are just like beautiful and very sustainable. Those are a few of my go-tos.
Very, very cool. Well, Alden, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's been so fun talking with you about this, and thank you for letting me nerd out about my favorite topic.
Thank you for being nerdy about it, because nerding out is my favorite thing to do.